The fleet went to red alert over her hidden passenger Part 1. The stowaway Una Park was not a hero. She was just a lieutenant on a spaceship called the Celestial Dawn. She fixed broken machines. She checked cargo boxes. She ate her meals alone in the corner of the mess hall. Nobody noticed her, and that was exactly how she liked it. The Celestial Dawn was part of the Galactic Coalition fleet. The Coalition was made of 12 different alien species who had agreed to work together and keep peace in the galaxy. Humans had joined the Coalition only 40 years ago. They were the newest members. The other species did not fully trust them yet. Humans are too emotional, the aliens said. They act before they think. They make choices with their hearts instead of their heads. Una had heard these words many times. She always stayed quiet and did her work. She wanted to prove that humans could be calm and careful and reliable. She wanted to show that she belonged here among the stars. But one day, everything changed. The Celestial Dawn stopped at a space station called Meridian 7 to pick up supplies. Una was in the cargo bay, scanning boxes with her device. It was boring work. Box after box showed the same thing. Food supplies, medical equipment, machine parts. Then she found a box marked for disposal. Una checked her list. The box was supposed to be empty. It was supposed to go to the incinerator. But when she scanned it, her device made a strange noise. There was something alive inside Doc. She looked around. She was alone in this part of the cargo bay. The other workers were far away, talking and laughing. Nobody was watching her. Una opened the box. Inside was a creature. It was small, about the size of a cat. Its skin was almost clear, like glass. She could see light moving inside its body, soft and blue, flowing through tiny veins like glowing rivers. The creature was shaking. Its big eyes looked up at her, and they were filled with fear. Una knew what this creature was. She had learned about them in school. It was a Lumara. The Lumara were supposed to be extinct. Long ago, they had lived on a beautiful planet called Velos Prime. They had a special gift. They could feel the emotions of others. They could connect minds and help different species understand each other. When a Lumara was near, enemies became friends. Wars ended. Peace grew, but the Dominion did not want peace. The Dominion was a powerful empire that ruled through fear and division. They saw the Lumara as a threat. 20 years ago, the Dominion sent their warships to Velos Prime. They burned the entire planet. Every Lumara died. Or so everyone believed. Yet here was one, hiding in a disposal box, shaking with terror. Una's training told her what to do. She should report this immediately. She should call security. The Coalition had rules about unknown life forms. The creature would be taken away for processing. But Una knew what processing meant. It meant tests. It meant questions. It meant the Dominion would find out. And then this little creature would die, just like all the others. The Lumara made a soft sound. It was like a whisper inside Una's mind. Please, help me. I am the last one. Una felt tears in her eyes. She thought about her grandmother back on Earth. Her grandmother had survived a terrible war when she was young. She had told Una stories about people who helped strangers, even when it was dangerous. She said that being human meant choosing kindness even when it was hard. Una made her decision. She picked up the Lumara gently. It was warm in her hands. Its light pulsed softly, and she felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. She put the creature in her maintenance bag and closed the box. She marked it as empty on her device. Then she walked back to her quarters, her heart beating fast. Her room was small and plain. There was a bed, a desk, and a tiny bathroom. But behind her closet, there was a space between the walls. Una had found it months ago when she was fixing a broken pipe. She had never told anyone about it. She put the Lumara in the hidden space. She gave it water and some of her food. The creature ate slowly and then looked at her with its starlight eyes. Thank you. I am called Bomi in your language. Una smiled. Bomi was the name of a pet she had loved when she was a child. It felt right somehow. From that day on, Una lived a double life. During the day, she worked on the ship like normal. At night, she took care of Bomi. She brought him food. She talked to him. She learned that he could share feelings, but not read her thoughts. He was kind and gentle and very tired. 6 months passed. Bomi grew stronger. His light became brighter. He told Una stories about his home world, about the forest that glowed at night, about his family who had died protecting him. Una did not know that Bomi's light was sending out a signal. It was faint at first, like a candle in a dark room. But as Bomi grew stronger, the signal grew too. It spread out into space, farther and farther. And somewhere in the darkness, the Dominion was listening. They had sensors that could detect Lumara energy. They had waited 20 years for this signal. Now they had found it. Una did not know that her secret was no longer a secret. She did not know that. Warships were already turning toward the Coalition fleet. She did not know that. She had just started a chain of events that would change the galaxy forever. All she knew was that she had saved one small life. And for now, that was enough. The fleet went to red alert over her hidden passenger Part 2. Red Alert Fleet. Commander Taiho Kim had been in the military for 30 years. He had seen battles. He had lost friends. He had made hard choices. But nothing had prepared him for the message that came on that quiet Tuesday morning. He was sitting in his office on the flagship Aurora, drinking tea and reading reports. Everything was normal. The fleet was moving through safe space. There were no enemies nearby. It was supposed to be an easy week. Then his communication officer called him to the bridge. Jisuhan was young and usually calm. But when Taiho walked onto the bridge, he saw that her face was white with fear. Sir, she said, we are receiving an emergency message from the Dominion border. They are making demands. Taiho frowned. The Dominion and the Coalition had an uneasy peace. They did not like each other, but they did not fight either. Direct demands were unusual and dangerous. What do they want? He asked. Jisoo swallowed hard. They say we are hiding a Lumara survivor on one of our ships. They want us to surrender the creature and the person who is hiding it. They say if we do not do this in 24 hours, they will attack. The bridge went completely silent. Everyone stopped moving. Everyone stopped breathing. The Lumara were supposed to be extinct. If one had survived, it would be the biggest news in the galaxy. But it would also mean war. That is impossible. Taiho said slowly. The Lumara are all dead. The Dominion killed them 20 years ago. Sir, another voice spoke up. It was Yoonji Choi, the science officer. She was looking at her scanner with wide eyes. I am detecting something strange. There is an empathic signal coming from one of our ships. It is faint, but it matches the Lumara energy signature in our database. Taiho felt his stomach drop. Which ship? He asked. The Celestial Dawn. Taiho closed his eyes for a moment. The Celestial Dawn had 300 crew members. Good people. Families. If the Dominion attacked that ship, they would all die. He opened his eyes and made his decision. Sound red alert. He said, fleet-wide, all ships go to battle stations. I want every weapon ready, every shield at full power. And find out who's hiding that Lumara. The alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed on every ship in the fleet. Across 12 vessels, crew members ran to their posts. Weapons powered up. Shields came online. The entire Coalition fleet prepared for war. On the Celestial Dawn, Yuna heard the alarm and felt her blood turn to ice. She ran to her quarters and opened a hidden space. Bomi was there, his light pulsing fast and bright. He looked at her with sad eyes. "They have found me," he said in her mind. "I am sorry. I tried to hide my light, but I could not do it anymore. I grew too strong. My signal went too far." Yuna picked him up and held him close. Her hands were shaking. "What will happen now?" she asked. "The Dominion will come. They will demand my death. And anyone who protected me will die too." Yuna felt fear crawling up her spine. She had known there was risk, but she had never thought it would happen like this. She had never thought she would put the whole fleet in danger. "I will turn myself in," she said. "I will tell them it was my choice. Maybe they will spare the others." Bomi pulsed with warmth and sadness. "You saved me when no one else would. You gave me 6 more months of life. 6 months of kindness. Whatever happens, I will never forget the speaker in Yuna's room crackled. "Lieutenant Park," the captain's voice said. "Report to the bridge immediately." Yuna kissed the top of Bomi's head. She did not know if she would see him again. She walked out of her room and headed for the bridge. Her legs felt heavy. Her heart was pounding. When she arrived, Captain HFY was waiting. He was a tall man with gray hair and a hard face. Behind him stood 2 security officers with weapons. "Lieutenant Park," the captain said, "our sensors show the empathic signal is strongest near your quarters. Do you have something you want to tell me?" Yuna looked at the faces around her. She saw Jisoo, who sometimes ate lunch with her. She saw Minho, the engineer who always told bad jokes. She saw people she had served with for 3 years. People who trusted her. She could not lie to them. "Yes, sir," she said. "I do." And she told them everything. She told them about the cargo box, about Bomi, about the 6 months of hiding, about the little creature who was the last of his kind. When she finished, the bridge was silent. Captain Hyan stared at her for a long moment. "You have put us all in danger," he said quietly. "The Dominion does not negotiate. They do not forgive. They will burn this ship to ashes to get that creature. His name is Bomi," Yuna said. "And he is not just a creature. He is a person, the last of his people. I could not let him die." The captain shook his head. "Take her to the brig. Find the Lumara. We will discuss what to do next." But before the security officers could move, the main view screen flickered. Fleet Commander Taiho Kim appeared on the screen. His face was calm, but his eyes were burning. "Captain Hyan," he said, "I have been listening. Do not arrest Lieutenant Park yet." The captain looked confused. "Sir, she broke regulations. She endangered the fleet. The Dominion is demanding we hand her over." Taiho leaned forward. "The Dominion does not get to make demands in our space. Not today. Not ever." He paused. "All ships will form a defensive position around the Celestial Dawn. We protect our own." The bridge erupted in whispers. Yuna felt tears running down her face. Taiho looked directly at her through the screen. "Lieutenant Park, what you did was reckless. It was dangerous, but it was also very human. And today, we will show the galaxy what that means." The fleet went to red alert over her hidden passenger Part 3. The hunt begins. The Dominion fleet came out of hyperspace like a storm. 40-7 warships appeared in the darkness of space. They were huge and black and covered with weapons. The biggest ship was called the Eternal Silence. It was the flagship of the Dominion Admiral. It was twice the size of any coalition vessel. Just looking at it made people feel afraid. On the bridge of the Aurora, Fleet Commander Taiho watched the enemy ships spread out across the void. His hands were steady, but his heart was racing. 12 coalition ships against 47 Dominion warships. The math was simple. They could not win a direct fight, But Taiho was not planning to run. Admiral Daesung wants to speak with you, Jisoo said. She was still at her station, still pale. But her voice was strong. Put him through, Taiho said. The view screen changed. A Dominion admiral appeared. He was old, with cold eyes and a face like carved stone. He wore a black uniform covered with medals. Behind him, officers moved silently on his bridge. Fleet Commander Kim, the admiral said. His voice was flat and empty. You are harboring a dangerous creature. You have 1 hour to surrender the Lumara and the human who hid it. If you do not, my fleet will destroy every one of your ships. Taiho stood up straight. Admiral Daesung. The coalition does not take orders from the Dominion. We are in coalition space. You have no authority here. The admiral almost smiled. Authority comes from power. I have 47 ships. You have 12. That is all the authority I need. Then come and take what you want, Taiho said quietly. But know this. We will fight. Every ship, every crew member, every last human and alien in this fleet will fight to the last breath. You may destroy us, but we will take many of you with us. Is one small creature worth that cost? The admiral stared at him for a long moment. Then he cut the connection. Taiho turned to his bridge crew. Send a message to all ships. Hold position. Protect the Celestial Dawn, and prepare for battle. On the Celestial Dawn, Yuna sat in the brig. It was a small room with metal walls and a hard bench. A force field covered the door. She could not leave, but she was not alone. Captain Hyan had allowed Bomi to stay with her. The little Lumara sat on her lap, his light pulsing slowly. He was scared. She could feel it through their connection. I am sorry, Bomi said in her mind. All of this is my fault. Yuna stroked his smooth skin. No, it is my choice. I chose to save you. I knew there might be consequences. I just did not think they would be this big. You could have given me up. You still can. They might spare you if you tell them I made you do it. Yuna shook her head. I will never do that. We are in this together now. Bomi pulsed with warmth. His voice in her mind was soft and sad. Your species is strange. You barely know me. We have only been together for 6 months. Yet you would die for me. That is what humans do, Yuna said. We find something worth protecting, and we do not let go. Outside the brig, the ship was full of activity. Crew members ran through the corridors, preparing for battle. Engineers checked the weapons. Medical teams set up emergency stations. Everyone knew they might die today. In the mess hall, a young ensign named Minho was helping move supplies. He stopped when he saw Captain Hyan walking by. Sir, Minho said. Is it true? Lieutenant Park saved a Lumara? The captain nodded. Yes, it is true. Minho was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I served with Lieutenant Park for 2 years. She fixed my station when it broke. She helped me study for my exams. She's a good person. I know, the captain said. If she thought this creature was worth saving, then maybe it is. Minho straightened up. I will fight for her, sir. We all will. Captain Hyan looked around the mess hall. Other crew members were watching. They nodded, one by one. He saw humans and aliens, young and old, all united by a simple idea. One of their own had made a choice. They would stand by her. The captain felt something warm in his chest. He had spent his whole career following rules. He had believed that order and protocol were the most important things. But now he understood something new. Rules were important. But so was loyalty. So was love. So was the stubborn human refusal to abandon someone who needed help. He walked to the communication panel and opened a channel to the whole ship. This is Captain Hyan. In a few minutes, we may face battle with the Dominion fleet. Our odds are not good. But I want you to know something. Today, we are not just fighting for survival. We are fighting for something bigger. We are fighting for the right to show compassion. We are fighting for the right to save a life, even when it is hard, even when it is dangerous. Lieutenant Park saw someone who needed help, and she helped them. That is what makes us human. That is what makes us worth saving. Whatever happens today, I am proud to serve with all of you. He closed the channel. Across the ship, crew members stood a little taller. Fear was still there, but something else was there too. Hope, determination, the feeling that they were part of something important. On the Aurora, Taiho received a message from Captain Hyan. The Celestial Dawn is ready, it said. We will not surrender. Taiho smiled. He looked out at the Dominion fleet, dark and massive against the stars. The enemy was stronger. The enemy had more ships. But the coalition had something the Dominion did not understand. They had people who believed in each other. The hour is almost up, Jizu said quietly. Tae-ho nodded. Then let us show them what we are made of. The fleet went to red alert over a hidden passenger Part 4, the stand. The hour ended. The Dominion fleet began to move. Admiral Daesung sat in his command chair, watching the coalition ships on his viewscreen. They had formed a tight circle around the Celestial Dawn. Shields overlapped shields. Weapons pointed outward in all directions. It was a defensive formation meant to protect the ship in the center. They are brave, he thought. Stupid, but brave. He had seen this before. Small groups standing against his fleet. They always fought hard at first. Then they died. That was how the galaxy worked. The strong survived. The weak fell. All ships, he said calmly. Begin attack. The Dominion warships opened fire. Beams of red energy sliced through space. Missiles screamed toward the coalition vessels. The darkness lit up with the light of war. On the Aurora, the first hit shook the entire ship. Taiho grabbed his chair to stay standing. Alarms blared. Damage reports flooded in. Shields at 70%, Unji reported. Hull breach on Deck 12. Casualties unknown. Return fire, Taiho ordered. All ships focus on their lead destroyers. The coalition fleet fired back. Blue and green beams cut through the void. Several Dominion ships took hits, but there were so many of them. For every one that fell back, 3 more took its place. On the Celestial Dawn, Yuna felt the ship shake. The lights flickered. Bomi's light pulsed fast with fear. They are dying for us, Bomi said. All these people are dying because of me. Yuna held him tighter. They chose this. Just like I chose to save you. It is not fair. I am just one small creature. I am not worth all these lives. Another explosion rocked the ship. Yuna heard screaming somewhere in the distance. She thought about Captain Hyan, about Minho, about all the people who were fighting right now. They did not have to do this. They could have given her up. They could have saved themselves, but they did not. Bomi, she said suddenly. Your people could connect minds, right? You could share feelings across species? Yes, Bomi said. But I am young. I am weak. The older Lumara could link thousands of minds. I can barely link a few. What if you tried? What if you showed them something? Not just the coalition, but the Dominion too. What if you let them feel what you feel? Bomi was quiet for a moment. It is dangerous. If I use too much energy, I might die. And even if I survive, it might not change anything. Yuna looked at him. She thought about her grandmother's stories. About people who risked everything for a chance at peace. About the power of one moment to change history. It is your choice, she said. But if there is any chance at all, maybe it is worth trying. Bomi closed his eyes. His light began to grow brighter. Slowly at first, then faster and faster. The glow spread outward, through the walls of the brig, through the corridors of the ship, out into space itself. Una felt it wash over her. It was like being wrapped in warm water. Suddenly she was not just herself. She could feel the crew of the Celestial Dawn. She could feel their fear, their courage, their love for each other. She could feel the crews of every coalition ship, all linked together in one shining web of emotion. And then it spread further. On the eternal silence, Admiral Desong gasped. Something hit him like a wave. He felt things he had not felt in decades. He felt joy. He felt sorrow. He felt the simple happiness of a child playing in the sun. And he felt something else. He felt the Lumara. He felt the last survivor of the species his empire had destroyed. He felt its fear, its loneliness, its desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, the universe was not as cruel as it seemed. He saw images. A beautiful planet covered with glowing forests. A young Lumara playing with its siblings. Then fire from the sky. Screaming. Death. Darkness. He saw what his people had done. Not as a report, not as numbers and statistics, but as a raw, terrible truth. They had murdered an entire species. They had killed children. They had burned a world because they were afraid of understanding. The Admiral felt tears on his face. He had not cried in 40 years. Around him. His crew was frozen. Some were weeping. Some were staring at nothing. They were all feeling the same thing. For one impossible moment, every person in both fleets was connected. Enemy and friend, human and alien, soldier and civilian. They were all the same. They all felt the same pain. They all wanted the same things. Peace, safety, love. The moment faded. The connection broke. But something remained. Admiral Desong looked at his view screen. The coalition ships were damaged, but still fighting. They would not give up. They would die before they surrendered. He thought about his daughter. He had not spoken to her in 10 years. He had been too busy building an empire. Too busy following orders. Too busy being strong. What was the point of strength if it destroyed everything beautiful? All ships, he said. His voice was hoarse. Cease fire. His tactical officer looked at him with shock. Sir, I said cease fire. The Admiral stood up slowly, like an old man waking from a long sleep. Pull back. Return to Dominion space. But sir, the creature, the human who hit it, are not our concern anymore. The Admiral walked to the view screen and looked at the coalition fleet. They were small and battered and should have been dead. But they were still there. He understood now. This was not about one Lumara. It was about something bigger. It was about whether power was more important than mercy. Whether fear was stronger than love. He had spent his whole life choosing power and fear. Maybe it was time to choose differently. All ships, he said again. We are leaving. This war is over. The fleet went to red alert over her hidden passenger part. 5. The beginning 3 weeks had passed since the battle that never happened. The Dominion fleet had returned home. No one had died. The coalition ships were damaged but alive. And across the galaxy, people were talking about what had happened. A single Lumara had survived. A human had saved it. And somehow, miraculously, a war had been stopped by a wave of shared emotion. Una stood in a large hall on the coalition capital planet. Bomi rested on her shoulder, his light soft and steady. Around them, representatives from all 12 coalition species sat in tall chairs, looking down at her. This was the High Council, the most powerful group in the coalition. Una was terrified, but she stood straight and kept her face calm. Lieutenant Una Park, the council speaker, said. Her voice echoed through the hall. You broke 17 regulations. You endangered your ship and your fleet. You almost started a war that could have killed millions. Do you have anything to say for yourself? Yuna took a deep breath. She had practiced this moment in her head 100 times. But now that it was here, all her careful words seemed wrong. So she spoke from her heart. I saw someone who needed help, she said simply. I helped them. I knew there might be consequences. I accepted that. If I had to do it again, I would make the same choice. The council murmured. Some of them looked angry. Some looked confused. But a few, just a few, looked like they understood. The speaker raised her hand for silence. Your actions were foolish. They were against every protocol. They put thousands of lives at risk. Yuna waited for the punishment. But the speaker almost smiled. They were also exactly what we should expect from humanity. Yuna blinked. She was not sure she had heard correctly. When humans joined the coalition 40 years ago, the speaker continued, many of us had doubts. You were so different from us. You acted on emotion instead of logic. You made choices based on feelings instead of facts. We thought these were weaknesses. She paused and looked around at the other council members. But now we see something different. Your emotions are not weaknesses. They are strengths. You feel deeply, and because of that, you act bravely. Lieutenant Park did not save the Lamara because it was logical. She saved him because she felt it was right. And because of that choice, the last survivor of an extinct species is alive today. The speaker stood up from her chair. More than that, the Dominion has reached out to us. For the first time in 300 years, they want to talk about peace. Admiral Dassing himself sent a message. He said that a Lamara showed him something he had forgotten. And he said that a human reminded him that some things are worth any risk. Yuna felt tears rolling down her face. Bomi pulsed with warmth against her shoulder. Lieutenant Park, the speaker said, you are hereby promoted to commander. You will lead the coalition's first diplomatic mission to Dominion space. Yuna's mouth fell open. She could not speak. And Bomi, the speaker, looked at the glowing creature with wonder in her eyes. Bomi will be recognized as the first Lumara citizen of the coalition. He will have all the rights and protections of any other citizen. No one will ever hunt him again. Bomi's light flashed bright. In Yuna's mind, she felt his overwhelming joy. Thank you, he said to the council. Thank you for giving me a home. The hall erupted in applause. All 12 species, clapping and cheering and stomping their feet. Yuna stood in the middle of it all, crying and laughing at the same time. Later, after the ceremony, she walked outside. The capital planet had a beautiful sunset, with 3 suns painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Bomi sat on her shoulder, watching the colors change. You saved me, Bomi said in her mind. You changed everything. I just did what felt right, Yuna said. I did not plan any of this. That is what makes it special. Bomi's voice warm. You did not calculate the odds. You did not think about politics or power. You saw a scared creature in a box, and you chose kindness. Yuna smiled. She thought about her grandmother, who had died years ago. She wished she could tell her what had happened. She wished she could say that the stories about courage and compassion were true. What happens now? She asked. Now we build something new. Bomi's light pulsed with hope. My people are gone, but their dream does not have to die. We wanted to connect the galaxy. We wanted to help everyone understand each other. Maybe, with your help, that dream can still come true. Yuna looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Dominion was waiting. They had been enemies for so long. There would be hard talks ahead. There would be setbacks and arguments and moments of doubt. But there would also be hope. Because of one small choice. Because of one act of kindness. Because a human saw something worth protecting and refused to let go. It started with a stowaway, Yuna said softly. How did it end up here? It did not end, Bomi said. This is just the beginning. They stood together in the fading light, Human and Lamara, looking out at a galaxy full of possibilities. Behind them, the council building glowed with warm light. Ahead of them, the stars waited. Yuna did not know what the future would bring. She did not know if she was ready to be a commander, a diplomat, a symbol of hope. She was still just a lieutenant who fixed machines and ate meals alone. But she had learned something important. One person could make a difference. One choice could change everything. And sometimes, the bravest thing you could do was simply to care. She reached up and touched Bomi gently. "Let us go change the galaxy," she said. Together, they walked into the future. The end.